this lesson video, we are going to be going through some of the different measurement units that we might learn in Key Stage 2. We will start with an introduction to measurement, and then we're going to look in more detail at weight, length and distance, volume and capacity, and then some suggested tasks you can do at home. You can download our poster using the link in the title description. Our poster goes through all the metric system prefixes and talks about the prefixes milli, centi and kilo and how that changes the size of the measurement. It's also available on our app. If you go to measurement and then you go into the resources section, the poster is also available there. Weight. How heavy is something? If you have a question, how heavy or how light, you will weigh it. The units of measurement for weight are milligrams, centigrams, grams, and kilograms. These are metric units of measurement. There are also imperial units, so you might know pounds and stones, but we are going through just metric units of measurement in this lesson video. Some things that you might weigh, we might weigh food, people weigh themselves, newborn babies often weighed, and things like parcels. If you're sending off a parcel, they'll need to be weighed and the cost of the parcel will depend on the weight. Length and distance. So questions which might ask how far, how long, how tall. The units of measurement for length and distance when we are thinking about metric units are millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers. So we've got them in order from the shortest or the nearest to the longest or the furthest. Some things that we might measure the length or distance with. So we might measure how tall we are. We might measure the size of objects, such as when you're going on holiday, if you take a hand luggage on board a plane, you often have to measure the dimensions. If you're buying furniture for your room or your house, you need to make sure it's going to fit. So you might need to measure the spaces that we have. You might measure a journey. Before you travel somewhere, you may need to know how many kilometers that is, or miles. Often in England we think about miles, but kilometers is also a metric unit of measurement. Miles is imperial. And races. If you haven't run a race yourself, you may have heard of someone else in your family running a 5k race, a 10k race. The K stands for kilometers. Okay, a marathon is 40 kilometers. Finally, we look at volume and capacity. So this might be how much is in a cup, how much will a bucket hold, or how much would fit inside a jug. The units of measurement for volume and capacity when we are looking at metric units is milliliters, centiliters, and litres. We don't use kilolitres. So things we might measure volume and capacity of, it might be the size of drink. So a can of drink or a bottle of drink. It might be the amount a bucket could hold. So if I had a bucket and I needed, say, for example, 50 litres of water to fill up my pond, how many buckets of water am I going to be able to carry? How many visits am I going to do to my pond to fill it up? It might be fuel for a car. Different cars have different petrol tanks, so they might hold different amounts of fuel. And size of paint. If I was going to paint a room, I'm going to need different amounts of paint depending on how big my walls are, how much space on the walls I have to paint, and I might need to buy a different sized tin of paint. Some tasks you could do at home. What can you find to measure at home? So if you have some weighing scales, you could use those. If you have a measuring tape, you could use that. Can you measure things at home? What things can you find where you could weigh it? What things could you find where you could measure the amount of liquid? For example, how much liquid would a cup hold, or a mug, or a tablespoon, or an egg cup? Can you find the different lengths of things? Can you guess the weight or length or volume of something and then test it out? Were you right? Were you wrong? Were you surprised? Can you order things by size? Could you use the information you find to make a quiz for other people? If you haven't got things that you can use to measure, if you get into your kitchen, can you look at the different items in your kitchen and look at the label? So maybe before you look at the label, could you guess how much it weighed or how much liquid fitted in it? And then check the label to see if you were correct. I have designed some quizzes for you to have a go at. So in the comments, you can have a look at the links to some Kahoot quizzes. All you need to do to enter is to enter the game pin, or you can click on some of the other links which take you to other measure activities. If you have made a quiz that you would like to share, then please send it to me and I can create a Kahoot quiz from your questions. I'm going to show you how to use our free downloadable converting units of measure chart. You will see along the top we have base unit and underneath it the different base units. So we've got grams, litres and metres are our base unit. And just like a normal place value chart, I start with 1 here. So if I'm thinking about grams, then grams will be my unit. So I've written here 1 gram. Now, if I am working with a place value chart, this will be times 10, this is times 100, this is times 1,000. So any base unit times 1,000 will be a kilo of that unit. So a kilogram is 1,000 grams, a kilometre is 1,000 metres, but we don't have kilolitres. If I go the other way, from 1 this way is always my tenth, this way is always my hundredths. Now my hundredths are going to be my centi. So my centigram, my centilitre or my centimetre, and 1,000ths are always going to be my millis. My milligram, millilitre, millimetre. We do also have our free downloadable measures poster, which goes through these prefixes as well. So let's look at how to actually use the chart. When you get the chart, if you cut out the second page, there's 2 strips on there. I'm just going to show you how you would convert our gram, 1 gram to a kilogram. So first of all, if I'm starting with grams, I go to my gram section and I write 1 in. So I've got 1 here already. I would then take my place value strip and I'm going to put, because I want to change grams to kilograms, I'm now going to put my 1 over kilograms. So the green is over my kilograms. Okay, so now what that is telling me is that this section now becomes my units. So thinking about this being a normal place value chart, this is now my units. So 0 is my unit. If 0 is my unit, then I would need to put a decimal place after it. So if I put my decimal point, there, I can see that I have no kilograms. So 0 point, I'm leaving my 1 in the original place, 0.001. Now let's have a look at how I would change my gram to a milligram. This time I would place my 1 over milligram because I want to know what 1 gram is as a milligram. You can see I've left the 1 in the gram column. So I'll place it over my milligram section. And if my milligram is now my unit column, this side is my 10 column, this is now my 100 column, and this is now my 1,000 column. Okay, so I've got 1,000 milligrams. Should we have a go at that with a different number? This time, let's imagine we have 50 grams. Okay, if we've got 50 grams, let's put the 1 in our gram section. The 1 always goes wherever the unit is that we're using. We're using grams. So if I was going to write 50, I wouldn't write 50 here. because that's our ones column. Just like a normal place value chart, 50 is 5 tens and no ones. So there's my 50 grams, okay? I put my unit over whatever measurement unit I'm using, and then this now becomes my place value chart. I've got 1, 10, 100, 1,000. Okay, so I've got 50 grams. What is that as a kilogram? And what is that as a milligram? Let's start with milligrams. If I'm changing this unit of measurement to milligrams, I leave my 50 there, but I now move my strip over to milligrams. So milli is now worth 1. These are my tens, my hundreds, my thousands, and my 10,000s. Now we can't leave all these blank, so we put in placeholders. We put in our zeros. So our original 50 grams, we can now see, if I put a separator here, because we've got 1, 2, 3, and we use a comma, this is 50,000 milligrams. So 50 grams is 50,000 milligrams. What would our 50 grams be as a kilogram? This time, as I'm changing my 50 grams to kilograms, I put my 1 in my kilogram section. So this column is now my ones column. I can't leave my ones column empty, but there's nothing there. I can't change the number, but I can't leave it empty. So I'm going to put a 0 in there. I would then need a decimal point because I'm going into my decimals. And again, I can't leave this empty, so I put a placeholder in, a 0. And the number is 0.050. There's nothing after this 5, so I don't actually even need that 0. So my 50 grams is 0.05 kilograms. So you write in your measurement, so you put in your strip, you put your 1 over the measurement you're starting with and write the number in. You then move the strip to the new unit of measurement and you fill in any zeros or placeholders that you need to write and decimal points. On this strip here, this will tell you the new value of each of your digits. Let's try one last go. Let's have a look at what 4.35 kilometers are in meters. So I've got 4.35 kilometers. I'm in my kilometer section. My kilometer is worth 1. I've got 4, 3/10, 500, 4.35 kilometers. If I wanted to change that to meters, I then need to move my strip over to my meters. That one's better. I don't need that decimal place point now because that's worth 1,000. So my 4 is now worth 1,000. My 3 is now worth 100. My 5 is now worth 10. I can't leave my unit space empty, but I can't change it. So I put a placeholder in. I don't need anything after my units. So now I have 4,350 meters. 4.35 kilometers is the same as 4,350 meters. Let's have a look at one starting with milligrams. I've got my 1 in my milligrams section, and you can see here I've got 6 ones, 5 tens, 4 hundreds. So I have 456 milligrams. What would that be as a gram? I have 456 milligrams. If I want to change it to grams, I need to move my strip so that it's over my gram section. So I now have nothing in my unit column. I can't change it, but I can put a placeholder in. After a unit, I need to put a decimal point and I leave my other digits. So my 456 milligrams becomes 0.456 grams. Have a go, download the chart, cut out the strips. You can cut out the 2 separate strips and you'll have to just play around with them to figure out which strip you use when you're changing units of measurement. If you'd like to look a bit further into measurement and converting measures at a more difficult level, then on our Pocket Private Tutor app, you can download that, and I'm going to make the lesson on measures free today for 1 week. So they will be free until the 6th of April. The Pocket Private Tutor app is available in Apple and Android. Just go to the app stores and Google it. It's completely free to download, and I will unlock access to the measure questions for 1 week only. So check out the links in the comments for a free copy of our Converting Measures chart, and also the measure poster, and also for links to other measure activities.